bring sci-fi satire back.
In order to understand sci-fi satire of the 80s and early 90s, we have to look into political and socioeconomic climate of that era. Reagan's trickle-down economics, termination of many welfare benefits, rise in income inequality due to cutting taxes to the rich, also Cold War, destruction of many unions that led to unregulated monopolies that we know today. We know and we don't love. This climate brought a lot of art that expressed its criticism of unregulated technocratic capitalism, militarism, and a threat of dictatorship. However, unlike a large amount of popular modern movies of this genre, sci-fi movies of the 80s and 90s were reliant on satire and hilariously sarcastic storytelling tone. The prime example of it is 1987 Robocop, directed by Paul Verhoeven, set in crime-ridden Detroit, where evil corporation Omni Consumer privatizes the police force. Fun fact, by the way, Verhoeven dismissed the script written by Edward Neumeier twice because he did not understand the satirical context. He thought it was kind of shallow until he was convinced by his wife that it has potential. Edward Neumeier, who later wrote Starship Troopers, also participated a lot in the filming of this movie. He was consulting the actors and the director on his vision as well. Robocop is an ode to dark humor as a coping mechanism. It doesn't shy away from criticism of police, rapid and unregulated privatization of public services, technological progress that doesn't bring value to society, while being funny and very entertaining. So while Robocop might have its issues by today's standards, I feel like its portrayal of inevitably tragic future is a lost art. The unique sarcastic tone of the movie was achieved through a series of hilarious commercial and TV breaks that shown the decay and increased cynicism of the future society.
Police? And it won't even run down your battery.
Phrases like, "and remember, we care," "nuke 'em," and "I'd buy that for $1" became memes before the age of the internet. Fun fact number 2, the fictional actor who says, "I'd buy that for $1" in this fictional TV show, his name is Bixby Snyder, and in the show of Robocop 2, written by original authors, by the way, actual Robocop 2 was not written by original authors, and that's a whole another rabbit hole I'm not going to go down to. I don't have time. He became, Bixby Snyder, unlikely president of the US. He was also accused of sexual schmackmazment by the actresses of this fictional show in the first movie, but that scene was cut. That reminds me of something. Can't quite put my finger on what exactly. The main character of this story is a classic anti-hero who was stripped of most of his humanity, separated from his family by the system, but he's just and tough on crime. And although he challenges said system that harmed him, in the end he ultimately continues to serve it by being a cop, almost reconciling with his flaws. I really wish Robocop have joined some rebellious group or became a symbol of resistance, but being a cop that is tough on crime in the end is his primary identity that he can't abandon, which is quite realistic, to be honest here. Starship Troopers, also directed by Paul Verhoeven and written by Edward Neumeier, is an outright satirical sci-fi masterpiece. I put it a notch above Robocop because of its fantastic production. A choice of color and 60s retro-futuristic aesthetic, practical effects and computer graphics, and animation that still holds up to this day. It's 1997, by the way. That made me think of declining quality of CGI. I mean modern CGI. Starship Troopers world building is simple yet brilliant. It's the society where in order to become a citizen and be able to vote, you have to fight with space bugs that live on the other side of the galaxy, but somehow still present a threat. They sent meteorites our way, allegedly. That's crazy, right? We see glimpses of terrifying reality through bright and optimistic propaganda TV breaks. Public executions, recruitment videos targeted towards children, all of this shenanigans is juxtaposed by happy-go-lucky school kids living in relatively wealthy and abundant environment. Green suburbs, green schoolyards, this contrast creates a perfect dystopian environment. The war is happening, but it's somewhere else, on the other side of the galaxy. However, the war is still the main national idea, like the point of pride, almost. The main hero of the story, Johnny, starts as a bright-eyed school kid and ends up as a bright-eyed soldier fighting for democracy with the Bugs. Fun fact number 3, Starship Troopers reads not just a satire, but as a parody, specifically the parody of the very novel it's based on by Robert Heinlein. It's a whole another rabbit hole. I'm not going to get into details. I'm going to tell that Robert Heinlein, I think he did not intend his novel to be satire. It was pro-militaristic, pro-dictatorship, and overall pretty problematic. I do not want to read it, but if you want me to read it, leave a comment, and I will read it, and I will review it. That would be funny, I guess. Upon research, I was surprised to see how many people did not recognize the satire in this movie. I think it could be a little more on the nose, like Idiocracy, but I think it wouldn't become such a cult classic if it lost even a little bit of its subtlety, which was not abundant, by the way. Starship Troopers' sarcastic critique of military-industrial complex, imperialism, and colonialism is punchy, blunt, and very funny, in my opinion.
I'm doing my part too.
Honorable mention, Judge Dredd, very cool satirical sci-fi movie. I would say the main character, Judge Dredd, also has the same sort of dilemma as Robocop at the end of the movie, and he also stays a judge, a cop, and does not challenge the oppressive system that dealt him a bad hand. He almost went to jail because he was falsely accused. The government is corrupt. He just was like, yeah, okay, whatever, I don't care. I'm going to stay a cop. He had a chance actually to become one of the main judges and be able to change the law and make it a little more, I don't know, democratic, but he just did not care enough. And I think that's very interesting, and it might be intentional. Let me know what you think about it. If you watch Judge Dredd, I highly recommend it. It's very funny and also very entertaining. Like the action scenes, also the computer graphic and the practical effects still holds up to this day. Judge Dredd 2 is pure action, and Judge Dredd 1, I think, is more of a political satire, partially also a lot of action. And there's also Escape from LA. I think it has a lot of different commentary. Basically, LA becomes a huge prison, just surrounded by the wall. All the delinquents, all the people who are not fit into the society are sent to LA, which is funny. But LA is not this, sunny, funny, cool place anymore. It's very dark, it's very gritty, and I loved it. I love seeing like ruins of LA, a city where I used to live, like in this dystopian nightmare. If you haven't watched it, highly recommend. Also a huge classic, and I can make a separate video about it if you want me to. Today's pessimism about the state of the world isn't particularly unique.
What do you hate the most about the world?
Everything sucks.
People that decide to live on the streets, they know they can't exist in regular society. They can't go on. It's not because of them. It's because of what society's become. It's in decline. It's falling apart.
I'll probably be dead in 5 years from now.
These processes have been happening in the world for decades now, but the way it's been portrayed in art in the 90s and the 80s reads more like a cautionary tale. A tale of what could happen if we kept going with the same pace, whereas modern reality seems closer and closer to said cautionary tale coming true, and it's getting harder and harder to outdo the reality. A lot of satirical content doesn't seem so satirical anymore. Even Onion is not that funny. I also wanted to add off script that I think maybe our studios are currently not really wanting to risk it as much as they used to. They do not want to experiment with satire as much. The budgets are getting higher, the stakes are getting higher for the production, especially sci-fi production. So I think that could be the case as well. So why do we want to bring back sci-fi satire? We have to look into history again. Films like 1940, Great Dictator, To Be or Not to Be, 1942 managed to toe the line between comedy and drama, and it helped viewer to deal with horrifying realities of war by pointing out absurdities and contradiction in Nazi ideology and their actions. Moreover, humor helps to fight indoctrination. Propaganda relies on emotions such as anger, pride, and fear. You can't fight emotions with facts and logic, but you can elicit an emotional response through laughter, pointing out the absurdity of their ideology, which could lead to questioning one's reality, which could help change people's mind, which could help change the world a little bit. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I would really appreciate your comments, your critique. You can dislike, like, whatever you do helps the algorithm. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Oh shit. Very satire. No, let's do it again.